Let's start the organic chemistry chapter, amines, from class 12. In this presentation, the discussion is in accordance with the syllabus which is given in NCERT book as it is, so that it helps you with your board exams. So amines, they can be considered as derivatives of ammonia. Ammonia is NH3. And if you replace hydrogens of ammonia one by one, suppose I replace one hydrogen by R group, I get a primary amine, RNH2 in general. This is also primary, C6H5NH2. And if I replace two hydrogens, we have two R groups here, two methyl groups. So this becomes secondary amine. And this is tertiary amine because all the hydrogens are replaced by R groups. So it depends that how many hydrogens are replaced by R groups, that is how many total R groups are present. If one R group is present, NH2 is intact, it is primary amine. If two R groups are present, NH is intact, it is secondary amine. And if there is no hydrogen left on nitrogen and three R groups, they may be same, they may be different, then it is called a tertiary amine. The structure of amine is just like the structure of ammonia. The structure of amines, the nitrogen is having three bonds, three R groups, 1, 2, 3, and here this is a lone pair, the unshared electron pair, which is called a lone pair, exactly like the structure of ammonia, which is tetrahedral geometry, and the shape is pyramidal. But here the bond angle would be different because the R groups are bigger in size than the hydrogens in ammonia. So because of that, and the repulsions between lone pair and three bond pairs and the size of R group, so everything decides together the bond angle. So due to the presence of unshared pair of electron, first of all, the bond angle in case of ammonia or in amines will not be exactly 109.5 as in the case of tetrahedral geometry. It will be lesser than that because this lone pair is repelling the bond pairs like this, so the bond angle decreases. And here it will be even different from ammonia, as I just told you, that the size of R group also matters. The size of groups attached also matter. Classification of amines. This I told you in the first slide itself. They are classified as primary, secondary and tertiary amines. Depending upon the number of hydrogen atoms replaced by alkyl or aryl groups. In ammonia, they are called primary, secondary, tertiary. Now let's start with the nomenclature in IUPAC system. Primary amines, they are named as alkane amines. So the name is derived by replacement of E of alkane by the word amine. For example, if I have CH4, that will be called methane. But if I have CH3 methyl group and there is amine group, NH2. This is alkane amine. Which alkane? Methane. So it becomes methane amine. But in case of methane, the E which was there in the end, that will be dropped and I will write methane amine without E. It will be a single word. Okay. To name secondary and tertiary amines, we use the locant N, capital N, because in secondary and tertiary amines, nitrogen will be having more R groups on it. So, and in aryl amines, NH2 group is directly attached to benzene, like C6H5NH2. This is the simplest example of an aryl amine. Aryl group is benzene group. So in common system, it is also called aniline, and this term is used as it is in IUPAC naming also. Here is a table from NCERT. Different examples are given, and according to the rules you write the IUPAC name, but you should know about the common names also, as many as given in NCERT, at least that much we should remember. So if it is simple ethane, ethyl group and NH2, it is ethanamine. Notice here, there is no E here after N, ethanamine. This is propanamine, but propanamine has two options. The NH2 group can be at first position or second position. So you need to specify propane 1 amine, propane 2 amine. Same way, this is the secondary amine. Now let us see how to use the locant N for secondary and tertiary amines. You have to see the R groups attached to the secondary amine. Here you have different R groups, ethyl and methyl. The bigger R group is taken as the main compound. So the compound becomes ethanamine, and methyl is a smaller R group. So this is a substitution on nitrogen. So we will write N-methyl. Capital N is for nitrogen and then ethanamine. Similarly, if you have a tertiary amine, here by chance all the three groups are same. So the compound becomes methanamine, and two methyl groups are as substituents on nitrogen. So it is N dimethyl, N comma N dash dimethyl methanamine. Another example of tertiary amine, but here you have different attachments, different R groups. So the biggest R group is the main compound. This is butane 1-amine, which is the main compound, and there are two substitutions. So it becomes NN diethyl butane 1-amine. Suppose I have different R groups here also. In place of two ethyl groups, suppose I have a methyl group here, CH3. Now we have to write these substituents alphabetically. How will we write? We will write N, capital N for nitrogen, N-ethyl, N-methyl, butane 1-amine. Now this compound, the next one, CH2, CH double bond CH2, this is an alkene, that is propene. And the preference will be given to NH2 group, the functional group. So the numbering will start from this carbon. So it becomes prop2ene 1-amine. And here you have CH2 6 times, so it becomes hexane. And in hexane, on both the terminal carbons, you have NH2 group. So this is a diamine. Now here I will write hexane. Now here the E will not be dropped according to the rules, because this di is coming. The prefix di, tri, when they are coming, E will not be dropped. So it becomes hexane dash 1 comma 6 dash diamine. And as we discussed earlier in the previous slide, that aniline is used for benzenamine. In IUPAC also, and in common naming also, aniline is accepted. Or in IUPAC, you can write benzenamine also. This is called toluidine in the common language, in the common naming. So here, if I write the IUPAC name, this is clearly benzenamine, aniline. And on the second carbon, you have methyl, so it becomes 2-methyl aniline. Same way, this becomes 4-bromobenzenamine or 4-bromoaniline. And the last one, NN dimethylbenzenamine, because it's a tertiary amine. Now let's start with the preparation of amines. There are different methods. The first method is reduction of nitro compounds. So nitro compounds, they are reduced to amines. You can make use of hydrogen in the presence of palladium as a catalyst, in the presence of ethanol as a solvent, and straight away this NO2 group reduces to NH2. Another reducing agent is tin plus HCl, because when tin reacts with HCl, it produces tin chloride and hydrogen. That hydrogen reduces the nitro group. Or you can make use of iron plus HCl. Now this Fe plus HCl is preferred one, the reagent, because FeCl2 is formed along with hydrogen, and this FeCl2 gets hydrolyzed easily as compared to tin chloride, and that hydrolysis produces HCl again. So that HCl which is produced, because FeCl2 plus water will give you FeOH2 plus HCl. So that HCl can be recycled, can be reused here in the reagent. So you don't need to supply a large amount of HCl in the reaction. That's why this is preferred. The second method is ammonolysis. Ammonolysis means breaking the bonds with the help of ammonia. So we are carrying out ammonolysis of alkyl halide. So we are breaking this bond in alkyl halide using NH3. It's a nucleophile, electron rich, and when this breaks, it becomes R plus and this becomes R minus. So because of that, when this attacks, or I should say when this lone pair is made available to R plus, it converts it to a substituted ammonium salt, RNH3 plus X minus. And RNH2, primary amine if you have, and you carry out a monolysis using this RX. So again, the same way, R2NH will be obtained, because when you have the salt and you heat such a salt, it loses HX. So if it is losing HX on heating, it will straight away provide you the primary amine. Add one more RX, it will become R2NH plus X minus, NH2 plus X minus, then again it loses HX, it becomes R2NH. This reacts with R2NH, same way, the lone pair made available. So it will give you R3NH plus X minus. On loss of HX, it gives you R3N, the tertiary amine. This again has lone pair on nitrogen. So this R plus can react with one more RX molecule, can react with R3N and gives you a quaternary ammonium salt, R4NX. It cannot lose HX now because there is no hydrogen left on the R4N. Now the free amine that can be obtained from the ammonium salt by treatment with a strong base. How? If I have RNH3X, this I obtain from the reaction between a primary amine, that is RNH2, and we know that because nitrogen in amines has a lone pair, so these are basic in nature. If it reacts with HX, hydrogen halide, HCl, HBr, HI, it will give me the corresponding salt. So this is the salt that we are getting. Now if I want to take out amine, suppose I took an impure form of amine, RNH2, added HX, and I could separate the salt. Now from the salt I want to retrieve this primary amine back. So the technique is add a stronger base like NaOH, stronger base than ammonia, because that will react with HX. It will abstract HX from the salt and give you corresponding salt and water, and the primary amine is set free. And a monolysis has a disadvantage, that monolysis gives you a mixture of primary, secondary and tertiary amines along with a quaternary ammonium salt, as we saw in the previous slide. So any method which is not giving you the pure product has this disadvantage always. And the order of reactivity of halides is, iodides are most reactive because the size of iodine is biggest, so it's going to make a weaker bond with R group, and then Br and Cl. The third method of preparation is reduction of nitriles. Now nitriles are cyanides. So if I carry out reduction and convert this triple bond to a single bond by adding hydrogen using H2 nickel, or I can use sodium amalgam, the paste of sodium and mercury, and ethanol, then it directly reduces C triple bond N to CH2 NH2 on both the carbon and nitrogen in the triple bond. Two hydrogens are added stepwise, and they can be reduced with lithium aluminium hydride also, or maybe the catalytic reduction as you have seen here. The fourth method is reduction of amides. Amides on reduction with lithium aluminium hydride produce straight away amine. This C double bond O group, carbonyl group, changes to CH2 group. So RCONH2 changes to RCH2NH2. This is another method of producing amines. The next method is a name reaction, Gabriel thalamide synthesis. In this reaction, Gabriel synthesis, what we start with a compound called thalamide. Thalamide is obtained in the previous chapter where we studied carboxylic acids. This thalamide preparation was explained, that when you take phthalic acid, that is benzene with COH groups, two COH groups, and you treat it with ammonia and then heat it, you get thalamide. So this thalamide is reacted with KOH, a strong base. This KOH will abstract this hydrogen because this hydrogen exists as an acidic hydrogen. Reason being, there are two CO groups which withdraw electron density towards them like this, and it affects the electron pair in this bond also. So basically the electron density is drifted this way. Because of that, this H can go out as H plus, and in place of H plus, K plus comes. then whatever R group you want in the primary amine, because this method gives only primary amines. Now here, whatever R group you want, the alkyl halide, corresponding alkyl halide is to be taken. It will give you Kx and the R group will be in place of potassium. Once you get this compound, then you take a strong base aqueous medium like NaOH and it will hydrolyze it. This bond being polar in nature, it breaks from here and gives you OH. Hydrogens will come here from water. Two hydrogens when two bonds are breaking, and on these carbons OH groups will go, right? But in the same container you still have a lot of NaOH. The basic medium is there. So because of that, the COH will not remain COH, it will give you CONA, the salt, along with the primary amine. And aromatic amines cannot be prepared by this method because aryl halides do not undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction so easily. It means if I take here benzene, it is difficult to break this bond between the carbon of benzene and halogen X because of double bond character as there is resonance. So by this method, you can make only primary amines, first thing. Why that? Because only one acidic hydrogen is there. It's a cyclic compound. So nitrogen has only one replaceable hydrogen on it. And the second thing is aromatic primary amines cannot be prepared because aryl halides do not undergo nucleophilic substitution with the anion formed by phthalimide. It needs a stronger reagent for that. Phthalimide cannot help in breaking of the bond between carbon and halogen because it is already having a double bond character. And the last method of preparation is another name reaction, Hofmann bromamide degradation. Why are we calling it degradation? If you see the starting material RCONH2 amide, and if you see the product is RNH2. So this CO is removed from here. We are reducing the carbon when we move from here to here. That's why we call it degradation. And it is carried out by the reaction of amide in the presence of bromine and a strong base like NaOH. It gives you primary amine straight away, sodium carbonate, NaBr, and water. So this is called Hofmann bromamide degradation reaction. Now let's start with the physical properties of amines now. The lower aliphatic amines are gases. They have a fishy odor, smell. And primary amines with 3 or more carbon atoms, they are liquid. And if you go to still higher ones with more number of carbons, they are solids. Because of the obvious reason that as the size of R group increases, the surface area of R group increases, the van der Waals force of attraction between the two molecules, intermolecular force of attraction, because NH2 is present in every molecule. So it will not be decided on the basis of NH2 group, which is showing hydrogen bonding, that is in every molecule. It will be decided by the size of the carbon chain. Bigger the carbon chain, longer the carbon chain, more is the intermolecular van der Waals force of attraction. Hence, more is the, the attraction gives rise to a physical state which is changing from gases to liquid to solid. Aniline and other aryl amines are colorless, but they get colored on storage due to atmospheric oxidation. And lower aliphatic amines are soluble in water because they make H bond with the water molecules. But the solubility decreases with increase in molar mass because we cannot say that as the molar mass increases, they are not capable of making H bonding with water. They can. But the size of R group, which is a hydrophobic alkyl part, that increases. So that is dominating here. That is playing the main role and it decreases the solubility. So higher amines are essentially insoluble in water. If you take an example of butane 1-ol, suppose, and you compare it with butane 1 amine, both have 4 carbons, then in which case the intermolecular H bonding will be more, or in which case you will say that solubility will be more. If you have to discuss this, then you have to imagine this as the H bonding of these molecules with water, because we are discussing the solubility in water. So butane 1 all will be more soluble in water, reason being more polarity. If you see butane 1 all, there is oxygen which is more electronegative than nitrogen in amines. And this is the reason that stronger intermolecular H bonds are formed between butanol and water as compared to butane 1 amine and water. So amines are soluble in organic solvents like alcohol, ether and benzene, but they are not that soluble in water if you compare. And the order of boiling point, these are the two things we get confused between. That if I discuss boiling point, I have to talk about the intermolecular force of attraction between the amines only. Primary amine RNH2, it's bond with another RNH2 as shown here, RNH2. So this is H bond, this is H bond with the other molecule. If you take this RNH2 which is in the middle, you can see that each molecule can make 1, 2, 3 H bonds with the other RNH2 molecules which are surrounding it. So the bonding, intermolecular H bonding is between the amine molecules. It's not between amine and water. That will be when we are discussing solubility. So these two things sometimes confuse us. So be very clear about it. If you are talking about boiling point of something, it has to be that pure compound like amines here. But if I take a secondary amine, suppose I have two R groups. Now you can see that this H bond is not possible because now there is no hydrogen, it's R group. So the number of H bonds decrease. If I have one more R group here, if it becomes tertiary amine, then you can see that this hydrogen bond will also be not there. So as the number of R groups are increasing, as we are moving from primary to secondary to tertiary amine, the H bonding is decreasing. That's why in case of tertiary, there is no hydrogen, so there will be no H bonding. That's why it has least boiling point. In secondary and primary, you have H bonding, but in primary, it is the maximum because there are two NH bonds in primary. So that's why this order. Tertiary amines, as I just told you, do not have intermolecular association due to the absence of hydrogen atom available for H bond. This is the condition for H bond, that nitrogen, oxygen or fluorine atom should be there attached to hydrogen directly. So that is not there in case of tertiary amine. And boiling points of amines, alcohols and alkanes, if you compare different compounds now, amines, alcohols, alkanes, but they should have almost same molar mass. Whenever you are comparing different functional group compounds, they should have almost the same molar mass, only then the comparison is valid. So alcohols have maximum boiling point. Reason, oxygen is there, which is more electronegative, so there is more polarity in OH bond. It makes stronger H bond with water. Then you have primary amine, then you have secondary amine, then you have tertiary amines, as discussed in the previous slide for these three. And the least would be alkanes because there is no polarity in alkanes. It's only a hydrocarbon. Now the slide is starting chemical reactions. Chemical reactions of amines. Amines, they behave as nucleophiles. Why? Because they are electron rich. As you can see, there is a lone pair on nitrogen. So it can offer, this reaction we have done earlier also in the same presentation. It gives you a salt because the lone pair on nitrogen and here H plus. That reaction was between RNH2 and RX that I explained. Same way you can explain for HX. So H plus will get bonded to nitrogen, you get RNH3 plus and X minus is your salt. Same way aniline with HCl to be specific, and it gives you anilinium chloride. When aniline takes H plus, it converts to this cation. This is called anilinium ion. Hence it is anilinium chloride. Amine salts on treatment with a base like NaOH, they produce the parent amine, they regenerate. This I explained earlier as it is, that if you have RNH3X and you take a stronger base like NaOH, that NaOH abstracts HX back from the salt and sets the parent amine free. So this is how we can regenerate the primary amine. Amine salts are soluble in water, but they are insoluble in organic solvents like ether. So this reaction is the basis for separation of amines from the non-basic organic compounds which are insoluble in water. We can simply add HX if I have that amine with other impurities, non-basic ones, because only amine will react with HX. Then I take that, because it is water soluble, it will dissolve in water. We can filter off and remove the other non-basic impurities which are insoluble in water. You can filter it off, and then the solution you add NaOH, you will get the primary amine back. That is the technique. That is the basic knowledge of chemistry used here to separate it from the non-basic organic compounds which are water insoluble too. Now amines have unshared pair of electrons, the lone pair on nitrogen, due to which they behave as Lewis base. Those which have electrons, extra electrons in them, they may be having a negative charge, they may be having a lone pair, one or more lone pairs, so they are electron rich, hence they are Lewis bases. So amines are also Lewis bases, and basic character can be better understood in terms of Kb and pKb. Kb is dissociation constant of a base, and pKb is negative log of Kb. So if I take this RnH2 in aqueous medium, at equilibrium it will be RnH3 plus and OH minus. And then you write the dissociation constant, or you write the equilibrium constant first here for this reaction. That will be the concentration, product of the concentration of products divided by the product of the concentration of reactants. And we take water in excess, so this will be taken along with K. So this whole entity becomes Kb, dissociation constant of the base, because here this is a base RnH2 because of the lone pair on nitrogen. And pKb is negative log of Kb. So as you can see that Kb is directly proportional to the concentration of OH minus ion. So more is the value of Kb for any base, more is the strength of the base. And pKb is negative log of Kb. So that becomes exactly opposite, in the sense that more the value of pKb, lesser is the strength of the base. As evident from this table also, methanamine has pKb value 3.38, but benzenamine, which is aniline, has the pKb value 9.38. Quite high pKb value means benzenamine is a weaker base. High pKb means less basic, weaker base than methanamine. Why should that be? Because in benzenamine, in aniline, the lone pair on nitrogen is not available. It is involved in resonance. So this is how you can interpret it, explain it. Aromatic amines are weaker bases than ammonia due to the electron withdrawing nature of the aryl group. That's what I just told you, that the lone pair is not available. If you draw the resonating structures of aniline, you would know that nitrogen has positive charge in all the resonating structures. Its lone pair is delocalized. It's not available. That's why the basic strength decreases. Now here is the relationship between structure and basicity of amines. Alkanamines versus ammonia, if we compare. In ammonia, the lone pair is available for reaction with an acid, H plus depicted here. So it gives you NH4 plus ion, ammonium ion. But if I compare it with RNH2, so this R group is electron donating group, and electron donating groups make the lone pair on nitrogen more available for the H plus ion. So due to electron releasing nature of the R group, as mentioned here, R group is alkyl group. It pushes electrons towards nitrogen and makes the unshared electron pair more available for sharing with the proton of the acid. So that is why alkyl amines are stronger bases than ammonia. Basicity order of primary, secondary and tertiary amines. This we will be discussing under two different heads. One will be in gaseous phase and the other will be in aqueous phase. So if you have to talk about the gaseous phase, then it is the inductive effect only, as in case of the amines and ammonia in general we discussed in the previous slide. More the number of R groups. In tertiary you have 3 R groups, in secondary you have 2, and in primary you have only 1, and there is none in ammonia. So more the number of R groups, more will be the plus I effect of those R groups. So more will be the availability of lone pair on nitrogen. But in aqueous phase, it's not only the inductive effect which decides. I'm talking about the next one, that is aqueous phase. In case of gaseous phase, this is the order. But in aqueous phase, along with plus I effect of R groups, there is solvation effect also with water molecules, and there is steric factor also. There are 3 factors together. If you talk about, say, primary amine, suppose it has reacted with H plus ion and this entity is formed, RNH3 plus. Now I have to see how stable it is in aqueous phase. In water it will make these 3 H bonds, so it is quite stable. If I take a secondary amine, it will make only 2 bonds with water molecules because nitrogen is not having any lone pair left. It's already R2NH2 plus. And then R3NH plus has only 1 NH, so it will be making 1 bond with water molecule. So solvation is maximum for primary amines cation when it reacts with H plus ion. That's why the primary one is the most stable. After reacting with H plus, it is the most stable in aqueous phase. So the basic strength order becomes primary, secondary, tertiary. It is just opposite to the inductive effect order because there the tertiary was having maximum basic strength due to 3 R groups in it. And the third factor is steric factor. When the alkyl group is small group, when we talk about the small group like methyl, the smallest R group, there is no steric hindrance, or we can say very, very less steric hindrance to H bonding because nitrogen is surrounded by a small R group along with hydrogens. So if the alkyl group becomes bigger, obviously the steric hindrance will increase. And we are talking about the smallest R group, the size of R group may also change. It will only be bigger, so that will add more to the steric factor. Now the outcome is that these 3 effects, inductive effect, solvation effect, and steric hindrance, they are having a very important role, and there is a subtle interplay of these 3 effects. And surprisingly, the order of basic strength is found to be secondary amines, as you will notice here. Secondary amines maximum, because in every order they were coming in the middle of primary and tertiary. In one order primary was maximum, in the other tertiary was maximum, but here when the interplay of 3 effects is there, it is the secondary which has maximum basic strength. Then if we are talking about the ethyl group here, then after secondary it will be tertiary, and then you have primary and then ammonia. But if it is methyl group, then here you have a change. Here only it will be secondary obviously maximum and ammonia minimum, but tertiary will have less basic strength than the primary, because you cannot explain just on the basis of only steric factor or only solvation or only inductive. All the 3 together experimentally when tested, this is the order in aqueous medium. And if you compare the basic strength of aryl amines and ammonia, this is aryl amines versus ammonia, the proton acceptability or the basic nature would be less in case of aromatic amines. Why? Because if you draw the resonating structure like this, you will notice that nitrogen has a positive charge in these resonating structures. That means its lone pair is not easily available all the time. That's why aniline has lesser basic strength if you compare with ammonia, because in ammonia there is no resonance, so the lone pair is available all the time. That's the reason. You must have noticed in the previous slide that aniline had 5 resonating structures in total. But anilinium ion, how do we get it? We get it when aniline reacts with an acid and takes H plus ion, proton. The anilinium ion has only 2 possible resonating structures. That means aniline is more stable than anilinium ion. It further proves that aniline will not be able to take H plus ion easily to convert to anilinium ion, because anilinium ion is not very stable. And resonating structures are also called Kekule structures, Kekule forms, as mentioned here. So that's the reason, that because lone pair is not available, so aniline is more stable than anilinium. It will not be readily converting to anilinium ion. And in case of substituted anilines, it's observed that electron releasing groups like the methoxy group, alkoxy in general, and R group, they increase the basic strength because they will provide electron density more towards nitrogen and make the lone pair available. But the electron withdrawing groups like NO2, SO3H, COH, and halogen, they decrease it because they withdraw electrons and make the lone pair less available. Next is a reaction of amines with alkyl halides. Primary amines, if you have a monolysis of alkyl halide, it's same as that. So when one more Rx reacts, you get secondary amine. One more Rx will react because lone pair is intact. You get tertiary amine, and here also you have a lone pair intact, so it can further give you a quaternary ammonium salt. This is called alkylation also. Now the next is acylation, the next chemical property. If you react amine with acyl halide, RCOCl, CH3COCl here to be specific, in the presence of a base, this intermediate would be formed. We have to understand it properly. What happens? The lone pair is available on nitrogen. So if you can clearly see this arrow, it is making the electron pair available to carbon, because here C double bond O is there and this electron density is shifting towards more electronegative oxygen. So this happens simultaneously, and it gives you an intermediate which is nitrogen having a positive charge because it offered its lone pair for sharing here with carbon, and this oxygen has a negative charge. And finally, this O negative shares the electrons back to make it a double bond, and in this process Cl minus goes out and you get C2H5 NH C double bond O CH3. If you see this from here, what has happened? HCl has been removed. But if you directly say that HCl is removed, then it appears as if aniline is an acid. It is providing H plus ion, and which is taking Cl minus ion, and HCl is removed. But to understand that it is not acidic in nature, it is basic, because it is obviously offering its lone pair for reaction with this carbon, and then this intermediate stabilizes by loss of HCl ion finally and gives you the acylated product. You have to understand this mechanism. Same way, you have this secondary amine. Here also HCl would be removed and you will get N-diethyl ethanamide. And if I take a tertiary amine, do you think the reaction will take place? No, because there is no hydrogen which can be removed along with the Cl, so it can be given by primary and secondary only. Aniline, which is benzenamine, it can also show you the reaction, and phenyl ethanamide or acetanilide, we call it. Now, aliphatic and aromatic amines, as you saw here, both are able to undergo acylation. The substitution reaction basically, which is acylation, nucleophilic substitution we call it, and this reaction is carried out in the presence of a base. As you can see on the arrows, base is written, and that base has to be a stronger base than amine. So generally pyridine is taken, pyridine here, that is taken, which will remove HCl as soon as it is formed. Otherwise HCl can again break this bond and give you the starting material back. It can shift the equilibrium back to the left hand side. So if pyridine is there and I can remove it using pyridine, the HCl, it will shift the reaction equilibrium to the right hand side. That is the reason of using a base pyridine here. Similar to acylation, amines, they also react with benzoyl chloride and undergo benzoylation. Now in benzoylation, what happens? The aniline is treated with benzoyl chloride, C6H5COCl. Had it been C6H5CH2Cl, I would have called it benzyl, ZYL chloride. It is different from that. It is CO here, benzoyl O. When it reacts here, same type of mechanism is followed. C double bond O, this carbon reacts with the nitrogen through its lone pair. O negative is formed. Again, it goes back and HCl is removed. So finally, you get N-methyl benzamide. This reaction is known as benzoylation. Carboxylic acids form salts with amines at room temperature. Amines react with carboxylic acids also. We have done it in the carboxylic acid in the previous chapter. So there it directly reacts and makes a salt which is heated, and then it gives you the corresponding amide. Now the next chemical property is a name reaction, a very important one, carbylamine reaction. This reaction is given by primary amines only. They may be aliphatic amines, they may be aromatic amines, but primary amines only give this. When you take primary amine and heat it with chloroform in the presence of a strong base like KOH, it produces isocyanide, RNC. If you remember, cyanide is ambident nucleophile. It can make bond through nitrogen or through carbon. So in this particular case, it makes bond through nitrogen. So here you get isocyanide, and that is why it is also called isocyanide test. This isocyanide has a very objectionable, peculiar smell. It can be easily identified even if a small quantity of the starting material is taken with chloroform in KOH. So this can be used to chemically distinguish between primary amines from secondary and tertiary amines, because it is given by only primary amines. Then you have another important chemical property, the reaction with nitrous acid. Nitrous acid is HNO2. It can be written as HONO also. So primary and secondary amines, they react with it. Tertiary also reacts in a different manner, but here the focus is mainly on primary amines only, though primary amines may be aliphatic or aromatic. Both react with HNO2, which is obtained by the reaction between NaNO2 and HCl. It gives you a diazonium chloride, which in the presence of water produces alcohol, nitrogen gas, and HCl. And if it is aromatic amine, aniline, it reacts to give you benzene diazonium chloride, which is stable at 0 to 5 degrees only. Above that, it dissociates on its own to give you the nitrogen gas. And here, if you take aniline with HNO2 at 0 to 5 degrees, then it produces benzene diazonium chloride, NaCl, and water. Secondary and tertiary amines react in a different manner. They make a oily kind of liquid when they react with it. So that is beyond our syllabus. So we are not discussing that here, only the primary amines. Now the reaction with aryl sulfonyl chloride, a very interesting one, because this aryl sulfonyl chloride will be formed by the reaction of amines with benzene sulfonyl chloride. And this benzene sulfonyl chloride is called Hinsberg reagent, and this is called Hinsberg test. This whole test is called Hinsberg test, and it is used to chemically distinguish between primary, secondary, and tertiary amines. Let us see what the test is. In this test, we react benzene sulfonyl chloride with a amine. So let us start with the primary amine, and it produces a precipitate N-ethyl benzene sulfonamide. Same way, H and Cl are removed. But if you want to write the mechanism, you have to write in the same manner. It's not providing H plus ion straight away. As we have seen the mechanism for acylation, same way it will attack and give you the corresponding compound, which is a precipitate. Now here you notice that this NH is there. One hydrogen is still intact. And this is SO2, two oxygens withdrawing electron density. Now this hydrogen can be replaced as H plus here. In amines, it was not being replaced as H plus so easily, but here it can be replaced because there are two S double bond O adjacent to it. So it makes it acidic. And if you add an alkali now, say KOH, it is soluble. Why? Because this hydrogen will be replaced by potassium, so you will get K here. That is how I'm saying it is soluble. If I carry out the same step with a secondary amine, no doubt I will get a precipitate. HCl will be removed, but here you don't have any hydrogen on this nitrogen now. So if you add an alkali now, it will not dissolve. And you don't have any hydrogen in tertiary amines, the hydrogen on nitrogen I'm talking about. If there is no hydrogen available on nitrogen, it will not react with benzene sulfonyl chloride. So this is how we chemically distinguish. Imagine you have three test tubes. In one you have primary amine, in the other secondary, in the third tertiary. You're adding the Hinsberg reagent. What is Hinsberg reagent? This benzene sulfonyl chloride. This. You added it to all the three. Small quantity using a dropper. And you will see that in two test tubes precipitation is there, but in the third one there is no precipitate. That means that third one must be tertiary, because tertiary cannot react with Hinsberg reagent. Then you keep it aside, label it tertiary and remove it. Now the remaining two which have precipitate in them, you take small quantity of precipitate aside and add alkali. In one alkali, when you add alkali, in one case the precipitate will dissolve, that will be primary. In the other case, the precipitate will remain as it is, that would be secondary. So this is how we chemically distinguish. Now the next is a familiar one, electrophilic substitution. NH2 group is orthopara directing, because if you draw the resonating structures, you will get negative charge at ortho and para positions. So if the electrophile is there, it will attack at ortho and para. As you can see here, bromine in aqueous medium gives you a 2,4,6 tribromoaniline, and it is a white precipitate, this compound which is formed. The main problem encountered during electrophilic substitution of aromatic amines is that they have very high reactivity, and substitution tends to occur at ortho and para positions. But suppose I want to make only mono substituted product, I don't want tri substituted, say I want to make only ortho or only para, then what should I do? Because para is more stable, so that will be formed. But how to do that? For that, there is a technique in which we protect the NH2 group by its acylation. Let us see how. If you react the aniline with acyl group, RCOCl, as I explained the mechanism also in the same presentation. So it will give you this particular group. Suppose you have RNH2, or you have benzene here, aniline you are starting with, because we are discussing electrophilic substitution, so it will be more appropriate to draw an aromatic amine here. So I'm taking this, carrying out acylation, I'll get this compound. Now here what happens, this lone pair of nitrogen is involved in resonance with CO, so it is not readily available. The availability decreases, which controls the reactivity of aniline. And now I can prepare only the para product. Like in this reaction, first aniline is acylated and is converted to, NH2 group is converted to NHCOCH3 group. Now this lone pair will be involved in a resonance with C double bond O, as shown in the previous slide. This is called protection of this group. So that now if I carry out electrophilic substitution reaction, it will be mainly at para position, major product. It will be at ortho also, but in separate molecules. Dry substituted product will not be obtained, but major product, because of symmetry, would be para, like in every other case. And then you hydrolyze this in the basic or acidic medium, so that this hydrolyzes to give you the original NH2 group back. This is the technique by which we can control the reactivity of NH2 group for electrophilic substitution reactions. Another example is nitration. So when I react aniline with a nitrating mixture, concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid, what we expect is ortho and para products. But it has been observed that a substantial amount of meta, that is 47% meta product, is also obtained, nitro product. The reason for this is when you are making use of such strong acids, then H plus from here will react with NH2 and give you the anilinium ion. Now once this converts to anilinium ion, the aniline, it becomes meta-directing in nature because NH3 plus anilinium ion is electron withdrawing in nature. So that is the reason for substantial amount of meta product also. Next is sulfonation. Now the interesting thing about sulfonation is base is reacting with an acid. So as expected, it will give you a salt only under normal conditions. But if you heat it at this temperature range, then the compound changes to sulfanilic acid. At para position, you have SO3H, sulfonyl group. And this is in equilibrium with a Zwitter ion. Zwitter ion is when the same molecule has acidic as well as basic groups in it. Then NH3 plus, the H plus from here will be taken up by NH2 because of its lone pair. And this converts to SO3 minus. So they are in equilibrium with each other. Zwitter ion formation takes place. Aniline does not undergo Friedel-Crafts reaction. It's a very important reasoning question. Reason being, aniline is electron rich, and in Friedel-Crafts reaction, aluminium chloride, which is a Lewis acid, electron deficient Lewis acid is used. So the Lewis acid, instead of helping in the generation of electrophile, it will make a salt with the aniline because aniline is electron rich. And that's why the Friedel-Crafts reaction is not shown by aniline. So here we come to the end of chapter amines from NCERT. The diazonium portion has not been included because this year it has been removed from the syllabus. So to avoid any kind of confusion for this specific year, I have removed diazonium. So that completes the chapter and amines for you. I hope it will help you. Thank you.